Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for all of our members, subscribers, and viewers, and everyone tuning in to this live stream. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan. And I have videos apart from the live streams. I post videos regularly. If you're a fan of short form, go ahead to my video tab, where you can check my regular video updates. And this live stream is for more in-depth talk, is for more analysis, more participation from the community as well. And if anyone obviously has any questions for myself, I'd be more than happy to address them after we discuss the topic for tonight. So I posted a couple of videos earlier on. One of them was surrounding the visit of the Israeli finance minister and minister in the Ministry of Defense, Bezalel Smotrich, and his visit to Majd al-Shams in the Golan Heights, where Israel carried out a false flag attack yesterday, where he was sworn at and kicked out. People don't like them. Yesterday I was telling you about the fact that people don't like them in that area. They're not the type of Druze that live in the rest of Israel, and most of them do not recognize sovereignty of Israel. And like any community, the Druze community, they have people who are with the state that Israel obviously drafts, but there are people who are also against the state. But in particular with the Golan Heights, you're talking about a community that traditionally resisted Israel. And the second video was about the Israeli Security Cabinet giving the mandate for Benjamin Netanyahu and the defense minister to carry out a large attack on Lebanon, which could mean the beginning of the all-out war on Lebanon. So, in this video, what I want to talk to you about is Hezbollah's weapons. We had the report that Hezbollah are carrying out now, or they have obtained a very sophisticated weapon. And we had a lot of reports about it. Not many people spoke about it on mainstream media, but we found a couple of articles that speak about it in detail. We're talking about electromagnetic weapons. We had an article in the Jerusalem Post. The Jerusalem Post, they obviously post a lot of these things, a lot of updates. And they had this article about, let me see if you can see it here. There we go. Even the cockroaches won't survive, they say. Even the cockroaches won't survive. Expert discusses Hezbollah's new MEP weapon. Rotem Meital, CEO of Asgard Systems, a company developing military technology for defense industry, discusses Hezbollah's new tactic and supply of electromagnetic ordnance. And we had other reports about this weapon too. One of them was in the Kuwaiti newspaper Al Jarida. They reported that Iran supplied Hezbollah with this weapon and other Iranian allied forces. However, Rotem Meital, his name is CEO of Asgard Systems, a company developing military technology for the defense industry and the initiator of the 30U30 in defense competition for 2024, discussed the issue. And they asked him a couple of things about these weapons, and I want to elaborate further to tell you what they think. And after this, I'll open the space up for all of you. First, what is electromagnetic ordnance? He said describing electromagnetic ordnance is like talking about something no one has ever seen, but everyone understands exists and is present in reality. In our case, on the geopolitical and military chessboard of the Middle East, in essence, imagine lightning strike the building you live in. Not hitting a lightning rod or antenna, but the entire building, causing all electrical panels, water heaters, water and electrical systems, household appliances, computers, television systems, and even life-saving medical systems to stop working. It's like a power outage, but in this case, the systems can also burn out from the inside, like in an electrical short. They asked him, where is the threat aimed? He said, I suspect the threat is more focused on bases, strategic facilities, desalination systems, and the Israeli power grid. However, it's impossible to say precisely, as such a weapon has never been used in history. So there are no sources or references to learn from. So we're talking about an unprecedented weapon, according to these reports. Does it work like an electric wave or like conventional munitions and rockets? He said the physics are the same in any way they choose to use such capability. But I suspect the model will likely be in the form of a low-flying UAV, much like the Iranian Houthi attack of the upgraded Samad 3 UAV, which they called Haifa, which struck near the US Embassy in Tel Aviv last weekend. Only instead of a kinetic warhead with gunpowder, the front of the UAV can be armed with an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, activation mechanism, which is triggered during the UAV's flight and emits an EMP, upon contact with the target. But again, it's mostly speculation. He's saying, as there is no documentation to date of the use of such weapon or technology. He was also asked, is this an escalation? How do you think such a threat should be addressed? And to that he responded, and then I'll open the space up for you after these two sentences. In my personal opinion, not only is this an escalation on the map of potential threats, but it should also be regarded as close to a non-conventional weapon threat. Just as no sovereign country would tolerate a non-conventional weapon threat, the same applies here. This is because in 2024, electronic processors manage and operate all the vital systems in the State of Israel: infrastructure, medical systems, security, and military applications. Think of the analogy from the 80s, which describes that in a nuclear explosion, only the cockroaches would survive. In the same vein, in an electromagnetic attack, the cockroaches, which is a nickname for electromagnetic components in electrical circuits, will not survive this time. It will affect all of us in our daily lives and emergency preparedness. Like in a poker game, when someone raises a bet on the table, everyone stops everything and looks him in the eye to understand his next move or whether he is bluffing. I think we need to look them in the eye. And he ended it there. Firstly, these are reports. Let everyone understand, Hezbollah do not declare any sophisticated weapons. As a matter of fact, they've already used weapons that they did not elaborate on, such as the anti-air missiles that they launched to take down the Hermes 900. Three of them. Alongside the other UAVs that are smaller than the Hermes 900, they did not declare what they used. And Hezbollah, if they do have indeed such a weapon, they would not declare it even after they use it. So this was the main thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Clearly, we have Israel clearly monitoring, according to these reports, what Hezbollah are having. However, that's not sufficient for them to have an answer. And Israel, on the other hand, like I described in my previous video, have already approved an attack that could potentially have non-conventional weapons too. And when you talk about non-conventional weapons or a very big threat, I laid out the 4 options that are on the table when it comes to the attack as described in multiple reports in Israel: a photogenic attack, a strategic base, an assassination, or a special and symbolic new type of attack. These were the 4 options that were laid out in multiple Israeli mainstream media as a potential response for the false flag attack that Israel carried out in Lebanon. These were the things that I wanted to talk to you about in this video, and let me open the space up for all of your comments and participation. Firstly, Free Palestine, thank you so much for your super. And you said, and new Palestinian welterweight, UFC welterweight champion of the world, Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad. Yes, congratulations to our Palestinian brother, Bilal Muhammad, for becoming the welterweight champion. Thank you so much, Free Palestine, for your super as well. Stephen Bor as well, thank you so much for your super thanks. And Yvonne Sugru, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the surname. Thank you so much for your super thanks. Mudassar Hussein, thank you so much. Much appreciated, my brother. And we have Ahmad Mustafa. Thank you so much for your super. He said, Mahmoud, what's your opinion about Majd al-Shams attack? Who attacked, Hizb or Israel? It was definitely Israel. It was not Hezbollah. It's a typical Israeli action where they carry out a deliberate attack to justify an upcoming action. Hezbollah denied, they have no interest, and I elaborated thoroughly in my previous videos in the live stream yesterday. Hezbollah do not target these areas, these specific areas, or areas not very far from them. And the potential of Hezbollah making a mistake with the level of sophistication and accuracy that they've shown so far is very unlikely at the moment. So it was Israel indeed carried out this attack. Rebecca Spiegel as well, thank you so much for your super. The Virus 455, thank you so much for your super. And Il Karaki, thank you so much for your super. You said the sun does this well. 1849, a Carrington event, massive EMP from the sun. Interesting observation. And thank you so much for your super, my brother Al Karaki. IG to me as well. Thank you so much for your super. Much appreciated, my friend. And Studio Rainer, thank you so much for your super. You said, Yemen ready to strike down the aircraft carrier. That's why they suddenly dropped their plans. The US military is scared. Well, we had Yemen, look, Yemen already intimidated them. With their actions. And they even forced out the Eisenhower. I mean, what more can we ask for? You know, taking out the Eisenhower, how much that means, and all of these attacks that we're having day after day from the genocide coalition, they're doing simply nothing when it comes to taking down the threat of Ansarullah. Ansarullah are continuing, and no one will stop them. You're talking about people who are not afraid. And thank you so much for your super as well. Let's see the rest of the comments. Okay. Now we can go back slightly further up with streaming software. Giovanna Tadeo, false flag. That's another case as 11 September in the Twin Towers, so-called attack, a USA, deep state, and Mossad combined action. Indeed, 9/11 was a false flag attack. Absolutely 100%. And there are levels to false flags. When you talk about 9/11, you're talking about the biggest false flag attack in the 20th century. They had very big plans. They spent trillions following those plans and implemented draconian measures. What Israel is doing is more smaller scale. They try and portray it as if it's a catastrophe. And it was very telling when Benjamin Netanyahu said, this is our 9/11. Right? It's very interesting when he said the 7th of October, this was our 9/11. Not to say that the 7th of October was totally false flag, but the level of propaganda, the lies, the cover-ups from Israel, the immediate action, the immediate prepared, packed in packages, propaganda spread out, clearly indicate that they have sort of knowledge, maybe not for the scale of everything, but they clearly had some knowledge as to what was happening. And welcome everyone, greeting, thank you so much for your comments and participation. If you don't mind highlighting as well your comments, if everyone is directing them for me with like an emoji or something, red ideally, so that we don't miss many of your comments. Free Palestine saying IDF losing all hopes in Gaza. Israel military spooked by Hamas. It's like a spider web. You're quoting Hindustan Times. They know that. They knew that from the beginning. You know, it's not something new. It's not something new. Everything they've been selling since the beginning is a lie. Before they invaded Gaza, they knew what they were about to expect to an extent, because they faced it initially. But what they did not anticipate is how much more advanced they would be, how much more well prepared they would be, and how much they fell into the trap of the Palestinian resistance, Israel. That was from Free Palestine. Kurt Boss, IDF beaten by Al-Qassam fighters. There's no army, just resistance. Their army are just killing innocent civilians. That's what they do. And that's their whole campaign. That's their undeclared objective. Their undeclared objective, although we had, them saying it, obviously, is to commit a genocide against the people. With the resistance, they're doing nothing. Yeah, they're literally doing nothing. There is no progress with the resistance. Let's go to the next question. And Kurt Boss also said World War III on horizon since Boris Johnson stopped peace between Ukraine and Russia. Many Western powers are pushing for World War III. Clearly, we have people who are reckless, who serve the military-industrial complex, and who are there to preserve this militaristic oligarchy. They talk about oligarchy when they speak about Russia. We're living in oligarchies. The people with money control the state. The people with money control the state. It's not even like if you have a just dictator or something. No, it's worse. Sapufile, excellent job as always. Thank you so much, my friend. What do you think is the future of Joe Biden of Palestine? Mahmoud Abbas. Palestinians need a sane, young, healthy leader. Deal with afterwards genocide. The existence of people like Mahmoud Abbas are directly linked with the existence of the state of Israel. Mahmoud Abbas is connected to Israel, and he is there to serve Israel and prolong their existence. That's why he is blaming the resistance, and he's saying that Hamas are responsible for the massacres. I mean, how lower can you get with such a statements coming out from the Palestinian presidency? And these people will remain there so long as we have the situation. You see, you're not talking about all of a sudden you have utopia after things change, right? But there are prospects, there are changes that can be made to have better political leaderships. And again, even if you have democracy, that doesn't mean you'll always have good leaders, because certain changes require social changes, require changes with education, changes with the morals, changes with ethics, right? You need to have a lot of changes in the outlook and the education. And so long as he's there and he represents a very small chunk of the people, and again, you're talking about people with money. These people have been, paid for heavily, and still are. But their existence relies heavily on Israel. You see, Israel represents this the biggest extension of this neo-colonialist, expansionist, militaristic right society run by money and greed in the Middle East. Similarly to some other countries doing, but apart from the fact of they're neo-colonial, right? Because Israel was planted there. And these are problems. These are big problems that need to be changed. Sakura Haruno saying, I don't have a question, but how can we help support the people of Gaza, especially the ones in the north, since they're in horrible famine? Through any registered official legal charity, when you have many of them. I would advise to check in your country that they're registered, legit, transparent, and they have people on the ground. There are many of them out there. Ahmad Mustafa. Hez in 1983 attacked Israel and a missile fell on Palestinian city. Said Hassan admitted, said sorry to the Palestinians, they don't fear Israel. You're right. That happened. I'm not sure about the 1983. It definitely happened in 2006. And he himself said that and apologized. Of course he doesn't fear Israel. But Israel still go out and sell the lies. They thrive on lies, these people. And they're trying to portray it as if it's an attack of Hezbollah and have a combination, like strike 2 or 3 birds in one shot. Have frictions and problems between the certain communities, certain religious communities, and justify any upcoming barbarism against Lebanon. GI, greetings from Edinburgh. Greetings back, my friend, and greetings to everyone in Scotland. Thank you for the news and analysis. My pleasure, my friend. So did Israel announce that they will attack Lebanon is public and confirmed. The Israeli Security Cabinet, this is exactly what happened. The Security Cabinet has given a mandate to the Prime Minister and to the Defense Minister to attack Lebanon in the manner and in the time that they choose. But it has passed. It has passed. They did not elaborate further. And Benjamin Netanyahu's latest statements and his closest ally statements indicate that we will be seeing something. Smotrich was saying, eliminate Nasrallah now. Ben Gvir has been saying, I told you from the beginning, we should be burning Lebanon. The defense minister himself sent a warning to the Lebanese population, not Hezbollah. In November last year, when he was on the borders, he said, we send a warning to Lebanon. We will do to the citizens of Beirut what we did to the citizens of Gaza. Genocidal intent, barbarism, blatant barbarism. So he proved that, and they didn't elaborate too much afterwards. Blank Stares is saying Russia and China will not allow Iran or Syria or other friends to be destroyed. Zayos and US goons are scared. They know they can't do things they used to do. You're right about that, especially when it comes to the escalation, when it comes to countries. When it comes to countries, you will be looking at the bigger players in the region, like China and Russia. To them, groups like Hamas and Hezbollah are small. If you start talking about states, that would be a direct threat to them, and they will start taking more retaliatory measures. Goji saying, Mahmoud, please, can Israel fight in 2 fronts? It depends who you're asking. If you're asking someone rational who is observing the situation and judging what Israel has been doing, seeing the pattern, putting everything into context, seeing how much damage has been done, how much progress you've had, then no, because they're incapable of defeating one front. That's any person with a sound mind. However, we're talking about lunatics in Israel. We're talking about a psychopathic lunatic, Benjamin Netanyahu, who doesn't care. He will burn the state. They're in self-destruction mode. So in that sense, they can technically open a war. Will it be a good decision, a wise decision? No, it wouldn't. And there is a big argument about whether they are capable of doing it or not. But again, the options that were shown and spoken about in Israeli media indicate that they view different options in different manners, and not everything means complete and all-out offensive with like dozens of fighter jets all at once, destroying everything and burning everything. So they made the mistake. They're still making mistakes in Gaza. They are capable of making another mistake in Lebanon. Studio Rainer, we have super. Thank you so much for that. You said, just bear with me one second. Studio Rainer, where are we? You said, can Israel remain if they end the war? It's hard to see Israel staying after what they did. Israel can remain for a certain period of time, yes, but they will not remain in the same manner that they did before. You're talking about escalations that are unprecedented. They talk about having an existential threat. It's hard to see them as they are in the future because it's not something that people can all of a sudden be apathetic about, right? You've woken up tens of millions of people. Something that's against their policy, by the way, operate in the dark. And when you talk about military campaigns, very quick, brutal, in enemy territory, and get it over and done with. But with what they've done so far, you know. Joe Rowe, hey Mahmoud, did you watch the UFC fight last night? What do you think about the UFC officials taking down the Palestinian flag in the cage? No, I watched the highlights. I only watched the highlights. And I haven't seen them taking down the Palestinian flag. But what's surprising? What's surprising about them taking down the Palestinian flag? Right? It's not surprising for anyone. But I think he had a gum shield with the Palestinian flag, Muhammad Bilali. He made enough effort to highlight the fact that he's Palestinian. And well done on him for that. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Mustafa Jubarte, Mahmoud, Israel's acting like a desperate mad dog trying to oust US clash with Iran, but the US knows very well its capabilities of Iran. That's why they are very careful. Yeah, they do know the capabilities. And although the US are the biggest warmongers, and you have still voices in the US today who are playing on the warmongering with Iran card, they know very well because you can establish that from the Biden administration and what the responses they gave for Israel. You will not participate. We will defend you. And when they defended, they told Israel, you succeeded. You won. Take the win by the defense. And even with Hezbollah, we won't be able to defend you the same way we did with Iran. Right? They know. They're in a weak position. They know they're in a weak position. Gulliberg, thank you so much for your question. You said, and membership said, Mahmoud, what's your take on Italy resuming diplomatic relations with Syria? Well, with the situation with Syria slowly reaching some sort of a resolution, including talks between Turkey and Syria, Syria, the government's talking with some people from the opposition as well. You're talking about a potential de-escalation. More countries are realizing their approach wasn't very correct previously. And it's not surprising because it's a trend. It's happening with other countries too. Previously, you had the Arab League bringing them back, then taking Hezbollah off their terror list. Imagine how shameful that was. So it's not very surprising. Marvin Vergus is saying, question, do you think our boots will actually go into Lebanon? I only see them bombing Lebanon. Low on troops unless some mercenaries used on ground invasion. Their parking lot plan with US bomb. Well, they tried to invade Lebanon twice and they failed. They failed miserably. Hezbollah took down all of them. All of them went back as casualties to Israel, either dead or wounded. However, we wouldn't be surprised if they do have a plan to attempt entry from multiple fronts. Again, it might sound very stupid to some people because look at how much they failed in Gaza, but they're capable of such stupidities. Tom McIntosh is saying, Mahmoud, what do you think of Egypt putting out a statement saying that we must protect Lebanon? Yeah, I heard a statement saying that we should support Lebanon. It's not surprising, and again, it's a statement. They haven't declared anything. They previously made many statements against an Israeli invasion of Gaza, against an Israeli escalation. They made many statements. So does that mean they will be taking action? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but again, it's in line with their policy of having statements in accordance to their, foreign policy. And Marvin Vergus, the Regal Woman, and Egbertina, thank you so much for your supers. The Regal Woman said, Zionism is a trash ideology that is about to join the dust heap of history. Unfortunately, those thugs will keep acting with impunity until they inevitably self-destruct. This is what we're seeing. Same like Nazism, self-destruction. Self-destruction. Their barbarism and strive for getting more power and more, greed and all of these things. They destroy them, and now they're destroying themselves from within. And it's not surprising. And Egbertina, thank you so much for your super set. Thank you for your daily update. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Let's see where we reached. Napi G saying Fatah and Hamas just agreed to a post-war Palestinian unity government in China last week. Even if you hate Abbas, it's still necessary to make a transition to unified Palestine after this genocide. Thank you for your participation, Napi G. This unity it has been declared, but we haven't been provided with evidence of timescales and implementation. We heard reports from some people that the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas authorized people start working towards that. But we've had these moves previously. I spoke about it at the time. We had many reconciliation attempts. And all of the obstruction and hindering came from the Palestinian Authority side, always, because they did not want to legitimize any resistance to Israel. And they were always keen on the only solely diplomatic path with the recognition of the state of Israel. Will it be different this time? I'm not sure. Let's see. We still don't have any actions being taken. We heard of actions ordered, right? We don't have a time scale. If we can reach something, then great. But based on previous attempts, we haven't seen successes. And I think the most necessary thing before the political leadership's participation is the continuation of the movement, regardless of what the politicians do. And, I think it's very wrong to only delegate everything to the politicians. I mean, I think the idea undermines democracy itself, of having power to the people and people having their things that they want being implemented. However, if they are able to reach something, then great. But we haven't seen that in the past, and we had countries trying to have this unity that had more leverage and who were closer to both parties. Irene Z, we have a chat that appears now. Is it the super thanks? Not just the super thanks, that's including your comment too, because of the streaming platform. I hope you like it. And I'll try and share more videos with you, or some of the things that I quote as well. Shlululu. God bless you, bro. I'm Swedish guy. Used to be Zionist before I started to read and understand the conflict. I changed 180 degrees from pro-Zionist to anti-Zionist. God bless you too, my friend. Thank you so much for your comment, and greetings to all of our brothers and sisters in Sweden. Much love to all of you. And I'm not surprised, because I've seen many people like that, and I commend you for that, especially someone who is used to a certain ideology, or coming from a family with certain support, blind support or whatever. It's not easy to make changes. So well done, my friend. And I'm glad to see you here. Thank you so much for your comment. Ramplans is saying, MahmoodOD, the UAE, Israel, and the US decide together to bring international peacekeepers for Gaza and the West Bank for the day after. This talk has been reported many times before. We are not seeing any actions yet. The only thing that showed that there's a prospect of some forces being there was when we heard a report that Hamas accepted a temporary presence of forces they agree upon nationally being temporarily present in Gaza in phase 2 of the ceasefire. a phase that haven't been agreed upon yet. So far, we established that only phase one has been agreed upon, even though now we haven't been there anyway. We're not there. And phase two hasn't been confirmed. We still have this going back and forth with Israel withdrawing from Philadelphia corridor and the Rafah crossing and the Netzarim line. So this is the only thing that we heard that would make you think that there is prospect for that, not in the West Bank necessarily, but only in Gaza for a temporary period of time. But we still haven't seen a ceasefire yet. Let's see if we have a ceasefire, and then see how that goes. Danielle is saying, why do you think the Zionists are hell-bent on attacking the resistance when they know very well that there's good possibility that they will lose to the resistance? Well, because their actions are not driven by rational and carefully thought-out calculations. Their whole attack in Gaza was a barbaric, hate-filled campaign. A hate-filled genocidal campaign. It didn't make political sense. It didn't make military sense. It didn't make marketing sense, for their international image. They have created, through their genocide, the biggest awareness movement in history. If before the 7th of October, if you brought together all of the pro-Palestinian organizations together, they wouldn't have been able to achieve what we achieve now by Israel committing this genocide. So it's not like they act out of rationale, out of reasoning. And to Benjamin Netanyahu, he wants to prove a point to his followers and his base. And Free Palestine, thank you for your super. You said, Elon Papa said October 7th was the beginning of the end of the Zionist project. He said it won't be in the near future, possibly within 10 to 15 years. What's your thoughts on Elon Papa's predictions? Jazakallah khair. Wa iyyakum. Thank you so much, my friend, for your super and for your question. Well, Elon Papa is a very brave Israeli historian, neo-historian. And I think his prediction, he could be potentially giving Israel more time than they have, but it could be very realistic at the same time, because, when you talk about the collapse of a state or the total end of an era to an ideology, you don't necessarily talk about weeks or months or just a couple of years. However, judging by how fast things are going, how quickly you raised awareness, and how much heated the conflict is at the moment, and the recklessness of the behavior of Israel, it could be sooner. So now if they're talking about Lebanon, and they go on an all-out war, do we all know what the actual implications will be like exactly in Israel? After Hezbollah committed an all-out attack. If Hamas did what they did and they caused so much panic and fear, imagine what Hezbollah can do. Malarkey, if a war between Hezbollah and Israel breaks out, do you think there would be quick and decisive or long, like the war against Gaza? Well, I think Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel would want to do something that is more photogenic, like we spoke about these options, like in Yemen. However, even something photogenic with Hezbollah, that would probably lead Hezbollah to do something photogenic with them. So they know that equation. And the problem with them escalating to a very high level with Hezbollah is they wouldn't be necessarily able to take it down or de-escalate, because you're talking about a group that is the most well-armed group in the world, a non-official army-like group. Hezbollah, they have artillery and weapons more than states, more than many states, Hezbollah. And Israel could be making a very, very big mistake. Rowan Clark, do you think Israel will have its own issues between far-right religious and secular citizens, and this will be blowing up in Knesset behind the scenes? Well, they already have tensions. In the Knesset, we have a couple of things here and there, but not very much, because the Knesset is predominantly led by people who, like most of them, deny the existence of a Palestinian people. The other day we had a vote, a vast majority, about approximately 64 versus 8, against anything to do with a potential Palestinian state. What does all of that tell you? So the feuds are already there. There's a cold civil war in Israel. Can it become a hot civil war? It can, in any given moment. PG, thank you so much for your other comment as well. Much appreciated. Malarkey, do you think they will launch a coup against Netanyahu, or will that trigger a civil war? That will trigger a civil war. I mean, the people who can have a coup against him, they know that. That's why they don't want to go there. They don't really want to go there because they know it's an all-out. Studio Rainer, thank you for your super. Said, what do you think of Turkey threatening Israel with war? I didn't hear that. Ah. Okay. Yeah, we have a report. All right, let me share it with you here. Just a second. Just a second. There we go. Erdogan threatens Israel like we entered Karabakh and Libya. We will do the same to Israel. Interesting. What are they saying exactly? Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan made statements against Israel and even threatened to invade Israeli territory, Israeli media reported. Just as we entered Karabakh and Libya, we'll do the same to Israel. Erdogan said during a party meeting referring to the Nagorno-Karabakh dispute and Libya, which have had Turkish troops. Erdogan's threat came amid dramatic flare-up in the 9 months cross-border between the IDF and Hezbollah. Well, look. Let me see that. Listen, I mean, they had statements before. We had a here previously saying that in their, what was it called, the Centurion, them celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Republic. They said that we would be willing to take military action. Then we also heard a statement from Turkey that Gaza's fate, is like Turkey's fate. And that they have soldiers who fought in Gaza and what have you. But so far we haven't seen a lot of action. But when it comes to a bigger escalation, Turkey could participate. It's not like they couldn't. They could. But so far we've seen this talk. We haven't seen lots of action. So Is he referring to something if we have a bigger escalation? Okay, we know you're capable of conducting war with Israel or attacking. Does that mean that you will do that? We'll see. I think Turkey won't participate unless they're being threatened directly. They have the capacity to go into, but don't forget they're tied with the NATO. They have international ties, but they can at some point if things escalate. If it reaches Lebanon stretching to their borders. So McIntyre is saying Mahmoud just seen a report that Israel just started bombing Lebanon. I haven't seen a lot really. I haven't seen a lot. Maybe you're talking about the general kind of clashes, but I haven't seen anything significant so far. It wasn't even reported by in Lebanon. No, nothing very big yet. Just a bit of coffee here. Mind over matter saying Mahmoud, Israel's foreign minister has threatened Turkey's Erdogan with the same fate as Saddam Hussein. What are your thoughts? Well, I mean, they're good at threats. We've had back and forth threats from Israel and from Turkey. And I don't think Israel is in a position to start dictating which leader stays and which leader goes away now. They're not in that position anymore. They're not in a position to dictate who stays in Gaza, let alone in Turkey. I think they're punching above their weight now. But we've had these militant statements coming from Israel Katz, the foreign minister, against Turkey. They've had back and forth kind of comments. Teshikomo Smotrich got kicked out by the Druze. Yes, we posted a video about him. Posted a video earlier on about him. Marvin Berg is saying, do you think Rothschilds, Oppenheimer, Cohn-Loeb, and other Zion money will allow Israel to collapse? They've invested billions in Zion. Their personal religious commitment to thoughts. Well, see, these powers and these countries are no longer in a position to dictate everything. Why? Because the dynamics is not the same as it was 100 years ago. Hell, it's not the same as it was 20 years ago, right? 2 decades ago. I mean, who are they? Okay, put as much money as you want, and what are you going to do? If the United States, with this money tree that they have, although they have trillions in debt, Joe Biden is telling you there's no problem with money. They're unable to support Israel for them to win a decisive win in an existential war. What is other money going to bring? You see, well, the money, most of the money, it has to be translated in what? By military force.
or buying opposition. Hamas and some of the most of the, if not all of the Palestinian resistance movements, they cannot be bought. Unlike figures in the Palestinian Authority, for example, they thought they can buy Hamas with hundreds of millions and billions. They thought they can buy them and for them to rule Gaza quietly and continue as they are. But that didn't work. Some people, they don't only care about money. So I don't think any money would save them. Vivre Serene, Brother Mahmoud, is Israel likely attacked by air? Do you think Hezbollah has prepared anti-aircraft systems? Yes, it's very likely to be by air because this is the typical Israeli attack. And Hezbollah, they already have it prepared. They already used it. They already took down several Hermes 900s, the biggest Israeli UAVs. They forced fighter jets to retract. That's something unprecedented. So you're talking about sophisticated air defense systems, but not to a level where they can provide an all-out shield. No, Israel is still capable, and they can still cause a lot of damage. But they also understand that the equation has changed, and Hezbollah can also cause a lot of damage. Let's go to your next question. Okay, I think that was the last one. Jesus reports Satan supplies Satan with weapons. I agree. Arthur is saying, Kurt is saying, will the PLO make a comeback? The PLO are still there, but it depends if they modify themselves, they upgrade and include everyone in Palestine, because now they don't represent all of the Palestinian political parties. Arthur has Boone, what are your thoughts of bringing Dahlan to rule Gaza? He denied that he wants to rule, but we had reports that he wants to rule. He was expelled previously from Gaza. And if he would go back, it would have to be something that everyone agrees upon. And again, that has to lead to some sort of democratic elections at some point. But with the current climate, I mean, what democracy, what state, what municipality? You're talking about a country that's committing a genocide and annihilating everything. So it's still too early to talk about him or anyone coming in. Tanveer Rahman says, Assalamu alaikum, Mahmoud, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. My brother said you couldn't join for the last few days. What's happening here in my country, Bangladesh? I hope everything improves, my brother in Bangladesh. We've been distraught by these scenes that are coming out. Unfortunately, so many countries are in a mess, but I hope things settle down. And all of my best wishes to you and to the Bangladeshi people as well. We'll wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. Thank you for everyone who participated. I apologize if I didn't get to all of your comments. However, I'm here with you regularly. Special thanks to anyone who sent supers, Free Palestine, Stephen Burrows, Yvonne Sugru, Mudassar Hussein, Ahmed Mustafa, Rebecca Spiegel, The Virus, El Karaki, IG to me, Studio Rainer, Munzir Shihab, Jeff H, Marion Tim, Studio Rainer, thank you so much, my friend. Marvin Burgos, The Regal Woman, Egbertina, Free Palestine again, Studio Rainer, thank you so much for your super, thanks again. And Soul Flares as well, thank you so much for your super, thanks, much appreciate for all of your contribution. Again, if you haven't watched my previous videos, go ahead and watch them. And again, if you're new to this channel, I have shorter videos for you to watch if you prefer shorter videos. Apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, night, depending on where you are. And I'll hopefully be with you tomorrow for another video. Stay blessed, everyone, and I will see you soon. Peace. Salam, everyone.